Yo, what is up guys, the boys IzuKage here with a new what if, and this what if is what if Naruto had Merlin's magic. This is probably going to be my last 7 Deadly Sins powers in a what if, cause there's so many more anime or manga abilities that I want to get to, so let's just get right into the what if.
Talk to me nice, look, dirty, crazy. Big body Benz, I got you. Scope on the gun, get in here like a Mac. Can't fuck with these hoes, these bitches. I'm married to bitches, got niggas attached.
We start this story off in a small village far from the Leaf, bordering the Hidden Rain village and the Land of Fire. This clan had been exiled from all others around them for their dark practices of chakra. But that's not the whole story. These people weren't actually given chakra like everyone else in the ninja world. Instead, a different deity granted them power, Merlin. After everyone died in the 7 Deadly Sins world, she transported herself to Naruto's world after centuries of trial and error. After multiple descendants with the power of magic, these people came together and formed a clan, the Merlins clan. They were closed off from the outside world and practiced their craft. Of these people, Akane and Kentaro were very proficient magicians, and their child, Naruto Merlin, was the complete opposite. From the day he was born, he showed little to no magical essence. This is something priests would use to see if a baby would become a proficient magician. Anyways, Naruto had none of it, so he was ostracized by the people in his village, and that's how it stayed for years. So we fast forward to the third Great Ninja War, and Naruto is 3 years old. During the war, small skirmishes would break out between nations, and these would take place between their borders, and this included the Merlin clan. Even though they were powerful, the entire village along with its people were wiped out like many due to lack of preparation. But from the village there was one survivor, Naruto. He was alone in the rubble that was once his home, and the little levitation magic he knew he used to free himself. But Naruto had nothing, no family, no friends, no home. So he started walking in the rain, trying to find something, but after a week of aimless walking, he collapsed. Naruto woke up just a few days later in a house, and he shot up and saw a group of ninjas with grey armor eating by the fire. The female was shocked and she said, "I told you, Jiraiya, this isn't a daycare. Why do you keep picking up these kids?" And Jiraiya whispered something into Tsunade's ears and her eyes widened. She actually started shaking and said, "You mean that clan?" Jiraiya nodded and pointed to Naruto's hair. It was a deep purple. Only those of his clan have it. Tsunade was getting scared, but Jiraiya got up and said, "Hey kid, come have something to eat. We've just found you on the side of the road." Naruto was hungry, so he complied and ate some fish they caught from the river a few minutes away. And Jiraiya tried asking Naruto where he was from, but he kept silent, so Jiraiya didn't pry. Naruto kept to himself the entire day, and Tsunade was getting fed up. She brought Jiraiya off out of earshot of Naruto and said, "Jiraiya, we have a mission to do. First it was those 3 kids a week ago, now this? What do you want to do with him?" Jiraiya stayed silent, thinking, and he said, "We could bring him back to the village." And Tsunade grabbed his hands and said, "Are you mad? Hiruzen would kill us." And Jiraiya said, "But he could be useful to the village himself. He's a kid. We could teach him right from wrong." Tsunade said in a defeated tone, "Well, if we get exiled from the village, it's your fault." And she stormed off. Jiraiya shouted, "Hey, come on, he won't be that mad." But Tsunade was long gone, and he sighed and turned to go back inside, and Orochimaru was there watching, and Jiraiya said, "You agree with me, right?" Orochimaru said, "Well, I've always wanted to see what that clan could do, so it could be fun." And Jiraiya sighed and went back inside to Naruto. He said, "Wear this," throwing him a jacket, and said, "We're going back to the village." Naruto was confused but put it on quickly, and it was 4 times his size, and followed Jiraiya. While walking behind the 3, Naruto started to remember something. Before the village was destroyed, someone in a black robe handed him a box. Naruto reached into his pocket and pulled it out, and it was like a small wooden chest, but it had a lock on it and no keyhole. Naruto tried prying it open but soon got frustrated, so he threw it on the ground and the whole thing broke apart. The sound caught the attention of the legendary Sannin, and Tsunade was ready to attack, but they saw Naruto sifting through wooden planks. Naruto soon found a marble-sized sphere. Tsunade said, "What is that? Some weapon or something?" And Jiraiya put his hand in front of Tsunade and said, "Calm down." And Jiraiya crouched down to get on Naruto's level and said, "What's that?" in a kind voice, and Naruto explained the circumstances in which he got it, but he didn't really know what it was. So Jiraiya said, "Don't worry, we can figure it out when we get home." And Naruto questioned, "Home?" And Jiraiya had a warm smile and said, "Yeah, come on." And Jiraiya held onto Naruto's hands and they got to walking. So after a few days of walking, trying to find shelter, etc., they made it back. Before going into the village, Jiraiya pulled over the hood of Naruto's jacket to hide his hair. When they were walking through the village, groups of civilians were praising them because of their work during the war. So the group goes to the Hokage's office and Hiruzen is very happy to see them. Minato and his team haven't returned, so all he can do is hope. So after a bit of banter, Jiraiya turned Hiruzen's attention to the kid behind him. Hiruzen said, "Who's that?" And Jiraiya explained how he found Naruto on the verge of death, so he brought him back to the village. Hiruzen said to Naruto, "Well, how old are you?" And Naruto put up 3 fingers. And Hiruzen thought in his mind, for such a young child to be caught up in war, it disgusts him. But he continued, "Well, don't worry, Jiraiya here can take care of you until Minato gets back." And Naruto tried sounding out their names like Jiraiya, and Hiruzen nodded his head, but more importantly, Jiraiya said, "Hokage, there's something you must know." Hiruzen raised an eyebrow and said, "What is it, Jiraiya?" And he pulled over Naruto's hoodie, revealing his deep purple hair. Hiruzen was shocked and didn't know what to do for a second, but he composed himself and said, "Jiraiya, I need to speak with you alone." Jiraiya said, okay, and handed Naruto off to Tsunade, who was reluctant to even take care of him for a second, but Naruto hugged onto her leg and just seemed so innocent. Her heart was melting, but on the outside, she looked annoyed. So in the office, Hiruzen was arguing with Jiraiya why he brought that child here. He could destroy us all. Jiraiya was trying to calm Hiruzen down, saying he's only a child, he's been through a lot, and we can teach him the right ways. Hiruzen was still hesitant, but sat back into his chair thinking about what to do about Naruto. And from the ceiling, a root Anbu was listening in, and hearing this news, he snuck off to Danzo to inform him. Danzo was in his facility training some of his members when the Anbu knelt down to inform him. He explained what he heard, and hearing this, Danzo had a huge smile on his face. If he could enlist that boy, he would be the most powerful thing this ninja world would ever see, and have Naruto work for him. The perfect plan. Now back to the Hokage's office, Jiraiya convinced Hiruzen to let Naruto stay with him until Minato returns. So Naruto went to stay with Jiraiya, who had a small cottage in the wooden area of the village. So Naruto spent his days outside playing by himself and trying to see what the black marble does. One day while playing, Naruto dropped the marble but used his levitation to stop it, but this sort of activated something within it, and the orb glowed purple and grew in size from a small marble to around a tennis ball. And from this, it was like Naruto's magical essence grew. He could physically feel this coursing through his body. Naruto dropped to the ground and for a second felt weak, but once that wore off, he felt incredible. Not so much physically stronger, but something changed. Naruto ran over to a boulder he had tried lifting before to practice his magic but had no success. So Naruto tried it again, and this time when Naruto extended his arm to levitate it, when he did, the boulder was as light as a feather. And another thing is this black sphere just kept following him around, floating by his shoulder. Now stuff was getting interesting, so we fast forward another 2 weeks and Minato and his team finally arrived in the village, but short 2 members, Obito Uchiha and the Three-Tails Jinchuriki, Rin Nohara. Minato was angry at himself. He felt as if he was the root cause of their deaths, but this is the ninja life they signed up for, and Kakashi knew this best of all, so of course Minato goes to the Kage's office to inform him of everything that went down on the mission, and it was sad to hear, but they can't dawn on it for too long. Also, Hiruzen tells Minato about Naruto. So after they finish talking, Minato heads over to his master's home to see this child. While he gets there, like usual, Jiraiya is writing a book about a hero called Naruto, but he's interrupted by Minato, who asks to see Naruto. So Jiraiya takes him out back and they both witness Naruto practicing his magic. He's shooting flames, floating himself and objects around him, and bringing up small barriers. Naruto was actually quite adept at these abilities since he's been around them for such a long time. So Jiraiya calls for Naruto and this breaks his concentration, sending him and everything floating, falling to the ground. Jiraiya rushed to help him up, but Naruto said he was all fine. Jiraiya takes a sigh of relief and introduces Naruto to Minato. Naruto bowed and said, "Nice to meet you," and Minato was shocked at how much manners this kid has. He only seems, 3 or 4 years old? So Jiraiya told Naruto he can get back to what he was doing, while they both talk for some time. Jiraiya said he's going to travel the world and wants Minato to take care of Naruto for him. Minato was hesitant, especially knowing the boy's heritage, but he seems well-mannered enough, plus who else would? So Naruto ends up going to live with Kushina and Minato. Kushina did take a bit more convincing, but she adores Naruto at this point, and this makes her want to have a child of her own. So we fast forward 7 years and a lot has happened during this time. Naruto had grown attached to Minato and Kushina and sees them as his own parents. He even calls them mom and dad. Also, Naruto has started to increase his knowledge on magical abilities. And without even going to the academy, Naruto was assigned the role of Genin at the age of 5 due to his unique abilities that Hiruzen tried to disguise as some unique form of jutsu. Also, I should mention Naruto did dye his hair black, all of this to hide his true identity. So Naruto would go on to solo missions at one point. He did so many that the Leaf ran out of missions for Genins. That's when Naruto got his first opportunity to do a C-rank mission, an escort mission similar to Tazuna, but it was a bit further away and this person didn't have mercenaries coming after them. But the same day Naruto took the mission, he levitated the guy and started flying to his town, and they arrived there in less than 3 hours and Naruto made it back, surprising Hiruzen. That assignment was supposed to take a good week, and this got Naruto promoted to Chunin at the age of 6, and he would go on to improve and get Jonin at the age of 8. While rising through the ranks, Naruto met a lot of people like Itachi, Kakashi, and Shisui. He's had a really good impression on all of them. They see him as a sort of little brother, but a strong one at that. So Naruto could cast illusion magic, elemental magic, and more. There's so much I can't even name them. But the best thing to come out of all of this is Kushina's pregnancy. Naruto was going to have his own little brother or sister soon. So everything during the Nine-Tails attack goes to canon, but Kushina gives birth to a little baby girl named Narumi. So the masked man releases the Nine-Tails. Meanwhile, Naruto is at home waiting for his parents to return, but that's when he heard a sound that couldn't even be described. Naruto ran outside and saw the fox racing towards the village. So he acted quickly. He used the black sphere to amp his power and said perfect cube. The QB jumped, and as it was about to land on the buildings, it slammed into a purple wall, and these walls formed a cube around it. Hiruzen and his team appeared next to Naruto and asked, "How long can you hold it?" And Naruto said, "Not for long, this is my first time using this." Hiruzen said, just hold it up for 2 minutes, you think you can do that? And with sweat rolling down his forehead, Naruto nodded. Hiruzen and his team got into a barrier configuration. Meanwhile, the Kyuubi was forming Biju bombs trying to break the cube. And after 4, the cube broke. And some of you may say, wait, hold up. It's literally called Perfect Cube, it doesn't break. But Merlin is what, 4,000 years old and Naruto is 10? Everything he does isn't going to be perfect or efficient. So once the Kyuubi breaks through, Hiruzen is ready and uses his Monkeykin Enma staff and pushes the Kyuubi back and out of the village. By this time, Minato had taken care of the masked man and returned to protect the village, and everything from there goes pretty much the same. Minato seals the Kyuubi in his daughter and this kills him, while Kushina still had a few seconds of life. Naruto made his way over and saw her, and he floated down and hugged Kushina tightly, saying not to go. He needs her. Kushina was crying and ruffled Naruto's hair, saying he's going to be okay. And she shows him his new sister. Her name is Narumi Uzumaki. I named her after you, Kushina said with a smile. Naruto was still crying but had tears rolling down his cheeks like waterfalls. And Kushina's last words were, I love you, Naruto, my little Uzumaki. And she went limp. Naruto held onto Kushina, screaming at the top of his lungs, and Hiruzen and his men stood by and had their heads held down. So a few days later, a funeral was held for the Hokage and his wife. Naruto was praised for protecting the village, but he had his toughest challenge yet, raising Narumi. But this didn't slow down Naruto's life as a ninja, in fact it boosted it. In the death of Kushina and Minato, Naruto decided he wanted to join the Anbu. Kakashi had always told him it wasn't all it was cracked up to be, but he wants in. But Hiruzen keeps refusing his requests. But despite that, Naruto chose the most dangerous missions to go on, and always took enemies down mercilessly. He would use Firestorm to create tornadoes of fire that burned through crowds of enemies, and Hiruzen was seeing Naruto turn into a cold killer. The whole reason he didn't want Naruto to join the Anbu in the first place. Naruto took on a personality similar to Kakashi. He wasn't friendly, he wasn't approachable, and to everyday citizens in the village, Naruto was a mysterious figure that just showed up whenever they needed him. But after the Uchiha massacre, Naruto was confused. Why would Itachi do that? Itachi was such a good person, or at least so he thought. This combined with Narumi getting ready to join the academy later that year made Naruto want to focus more on her development. And unlike Naruto in canon, Danzo didn't release her secret since he was preoccupied on Naruto and thinking of ways he can get him to join Root. So one day, Naruto returned home and his house was a decent size for both he and Narumi. She got up and raced to the door saying, "Big brother, you're home." Naruto lifted her up and said, "Jeez, you're getting big on me." And she smiled and says, "Yep, I'm gonna be taller than you one day." And Naruto said, "I don't doubt it." So he puts her down and asks, "Well, how was your day?" And she said it was super fun. Shikamaru showed me how to play shogi. While Naruto went to the kitchen to whip up some dinner, he said, "Well, yeah, Shikamaru is really good. And you know, I'm gonna be around more often so I can show you a thing or two." And hearing this, Narumi got super excited. She had been always asking Naruto for ages to train her. Naruto smiled watching her run around all excited, and he thought, this feeling, is this what it's like to have someone you love, someone to protect? And he grabbed his shirt and started crying, but quickly wiped his tears before Narumi could see. And he said to himself, I have to make mom and dad proud. But that is where I'm going to be leaving this one off. Thank you guys for sticking around to the end of the video. If you liked it, like. And if you like my content in general, subscribe. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next What If.